Dinner at Magritte's by Michael Garland. Paris was hot and noisy in the summertime, so on the weekends Pierre and his parents went to their cottage in the country. There it was cool and quiet. A little too quiet, Pierre thought. Nothing to do and no children to play with. His parents sat as still as stone, while Pierre tried to imagine something interesting to do to fill his boring day. Across the lawn was Renee and Georgette Magritte's house. Renee was an artist. Pierre's father said that they were strange people, but Pierre liked them a lot. Sometimes he could hear music and laughter coming from their house. "I think I'll go next door," Pierre announced, "and visit the Magrittes." "That's nice, Pierre," said his parents quietly. Pierre hurried to the Magritte's house. Magritte opened the door. "Bonjour, Pierre. Come in," said Magritte. "Georgette, it's your young friend Pierre." "Welcome, Pierre," said Georgette warmly. "You've picked a good day for a visit. Our friend is coming to dinner. I'm sure you'll like him. I hope you can stay." "Oh, yes," said Pierre happily. Before the guest arrived, Pierre watched Magritte work in his studio. Pierre was puzzled because Magritte was looking at an egg on a table, but was painting something entirely different. "I don't see any bird," Pierre said. "There's only an egg." "Anyone can try to paint what they see," Magritte replied. "I like to paint what I think. I paint when I dream, too. So when people look at my paintings, they can see what's in my mind. Can you?" "Oh, yes," said Pierre. I think so." After a while, there was a knock on the studio door. Magritte opened it. A tall, thin man, his cape swirling about him, strode into the room. With a dramatic gesture, he took off his wide-brimmed hat and threw back his head. "You're 5 minutes late," Magritte said to the man. "Did you dilly-dally?" "You never tire of that old joke, do you, Magritte?" the man said, smiling broadly at his host. "And who is this?" he asked, looking at Pierre. "He's our neighbor Pierre," replied Magritte. "Pierre, this is our good friend Salvador Dali. He's an artist too." Pierre smiled at the peculiar-looking man, but he wasn't quite sure what to make of him. Georgette suggested a walk before dinner, so they all strolled among the trees behind Magritte's house. Pierre had seen these woods before, but he wondered why they looked so unusual today. When their walk was over, the happy group decided to play croquet. It was a little tricky for Pierre to whack his ball through the wickets, but he did it at last. Before they could finish their game, it started to rain cats and dogs. They all dashed for the house. No one minded because they were very hungry by now. Dinner was served on the big table in the cozy kitchen. Georgette's centerpiece was an old boot overflowing with lilies and hollyhock. Everyone was talking and laughing at the same time. "I've made my 2 favorite recipes," announced Georgette proudly. "Flying fish soup and partridge pie." "Magnifique!" Dali exclaimed. Pierre was too surprised to speak. After dinner they played charades, but Pierre was tired. "It's getting late," said Dali, looking at the clock. "I don't want to miss my train." Dali hugged everyone. "Well, Miss au revoir," he said, sweeping out the door with a flourish. Pierre thanked the Magrittes. He'd had a wonderful time. "I really enjoyed myself." "We did too," they replied. "Come again soon." When Pierre got home, his mother and father were in the parlor, the same as ever, as still as stone. Pierre was too tired to talk, so he just said good night. "Good night, Pierre," replied his parents quietly. Upstairs, Pierre settled in his bed. He closed his eyes and thought about his visit and Magritte's painting. Soon dream clouds filled his room. As Pierre drifted deeper into the night sky, he wondered what he would do and see tomorrow. Would it be a day as special as this one? Rene Magritte and Salvador Dali, who became friends during the 1920s, were surrealist artists. Surrealist paintings, often called magic realism, combine elements that usually don't belong together. This odd mixture of components can achieve the effect of strange, sometimes extraordinary imagery. The paintings may seem mysterious, as Magritte's do, or even nightmarish like Dali's. In this book, Michael Garland's pictures include many surreal images. Why don't you look at them again and see how many you can find?